Florence unearthed something in her grandmother's 1887 journals that would forever alter her understanding of poverty. It wasn't about money. It was about a curse passed down through blood, through DNA, through family consciousness. And the most terrifying part? You're probably carrying this curse right now, without even knowing it. The poverty you experience is not yours. Let me repeat that because it's important. The poverty you experience is not yours. It belongs to your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather. Florence tracked patterns of poverty across 7 generations and 300 families, all repeating the same financial mistakes, all sharing the same limiting beliefs, all dying with the same crushing debts. It wasn't coincidence, it was ancestral programming. In 1919, Florence, while studying genealogy, noticed a disturbing trend: wealthy families losing everything by the 3rd generation. Poor families remaining impoverished for centuries. It was as if there was a code, a program running in their blood. She called it the genealogical curse of scarcity, and she discovered how to break it. The method I'm about to reveal has been hidden by banks and governments for a simple reason. If everyone knew, the financial system would collapse, because the system depends on poor families staying poor. It depends on the curse being passed down. Florence discovered the key to breaking this cycle: 7 energy cuts, performed sequentially over 21 days. The first cut, the curse of survival. Your ancestors survived wars, famines, plagues. They imprinted on their DNA. Having too much is dangerous. Those who have much lose everything. A little guaranteed is better than a lot at risk. This is the first cut. You need to identify which ancestor created this belief. It's usually 3 or 4 generations back. Margaret Miller, 1922, an Irish-American family, impoverished for 200 years since the Great Irish Famine. Florence guided her through the first cut. Margaret discovered that her great-great-grandmother during the famine witnessed wealthy neighbors being robbed and killed, imprinting on the family DNA. To have is dangerous. Margaret performed the energy cut ritual. She visualized her great-great-grandmother and said, "I honor your fear, I understand your pain, but I release this belief. It protected you, but now it limits me. I cut this connection with love and gratitude." Within 24 hours, Margaret received a letter. A distant uncle in America had passed away, leaving a small inheritance. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. The first sign that the curse was broken. Within a year, Margaret had tripled the inheritance through investments, something no Miller had achieved in 200 years. The second cut, the curse of guilt. I don't deserve more than my parents. If they suffered, I must suffer. Success is family betrayal. Florence discovered this is the most common and most destructive curse. Children unconsciously limit their success to avoid surpassing their parents. It's toxic loyalty disguised as love. The ritual of the second cut is more complex. You need to write a letter to your parents. Not to send, to burn. In the letter, you ask permission to be richer than them. It seems simple, but Florence saw people cry for hours writing this letter. Ancestral guilt runs deep. It's in the blood, in the bones, in the soul. Mateo Rodriguez, 1924, a Hispanic-American family, manual laborers for 5 generations. Mateo had the opportunity to study engineering, but something always went wrong. Florence identified ancestral guilt. Mateo's father worked himself to death at 45. His grandfather, the same. Mateo unconsciously sabotaged his opportunities to honor ancestral suffering. He performed the second cut on a Thursday under a waning moon. He wrote the letter, "Dad, I know you suffered. I know you worked with your hands until they bled. I honor your sacrifice. But I ask your permission to use my mind instead of my hands. I ask permission to earn in a month what you earned in a year. It's not betrayal. It's evolution. It's honoring your sacrifice by going beyond. He burned the letter. The ashes flew on the wind. The next day, the scholarship that had been denied was mysteriously approved. Mateo graduated. He became the first engineer in the Rodriguez family. Today, his grandchildren are doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, a 5-generation curse broken in 21 days. The third cut, the curse of sacrifice. You must suffer to deserve. Easy money is dirty money. It's only worthwhile if it hurts. This programming usually comes from religious ancestors who confused suffering with virtue. Florence identified this especially in Catholic and Protestant families. The third cut requires a mirror. You look into your own eyes and repeat 33 times, I deserve abundance with joy. I deserve wealth with lightness. I deserve prosperity with pleasure. Sounds easy. Try it. Florence documented people vomiting on the 10th repetition. The body rejects because the programming is deep. The Lee family, 1925. Chinese-American Christians, 3 generations of poor missionaries. They believed poverty was sanctity. The youngest daughter, Lin Lee, wanted to be an entrepreneur. The family considered it blasphemy. Florence worked with Lin for 7 days just on the third cut. The ancestral resistance was brutal. Lin fainted on the first attempt. On the second, she had a fever. On the third, she cried for 3 hours. But on the fourth, something broke. She literally heard a crack, like a chain breaking. She managed to say the 33 affirmations. In the mirror, she saw not her face, but the faces of her ancestors, all smiling, all releasing. In 6 months, Lin opened an import-export business. In 2 years, she was a millionaire. The first in the Lee family in 300 years. But the most impressive thing, the family didn't reject her. On the contrary, they saw it as a divine sign. Lin's prosperity brought prosperity to everyone. The broken curse liberated the entire lineage. The fourth cut, the curse of invisibility. Don't draw attention. Those who show themselves get hurt. Better to go unnoticed. This programming comes from ancestors who lived through persecutions, wars, dictatorships. They learned that visibility was danger. They imprinted on their DNA, be invisible to survive. Florence discovered that this curse is the one that most prevents prosperity. Because prosperity requires visibility. It requires showing yourself, offering value, being seen. But the DNA screams, danger, hide. That's why talented people live in misery. It's not a lack of talent. It's invisibility programming. The fourth cut is done with fire. You write on 7 pieces of paper, I am visible and safe. And burn 1 piece of paper a day for 7 days. While the paper burns, visualize your ancestors coming out of the shadows into the light. It's common to feel intense fear in the first few days. It's the programming fighting to survive. David Goldstein, 1926. A Polish Jewish family. His great-grandfather survived a pogrom by hiding for 3 days in a barn, imprinting on the DNA. To be seen is to die. David was a brilliant pianist, but he had a terrifying stage fright. It wasn't shyness, it was ancestral terror. He performed the fourth cut in January 1926, day 1, hands shaking so violently, barely able to strike a match. Day 2, a cold sweat. Day 3, nightmares, relentless chases. Day 4, something shifted. In a dream, he saw his great-grandfather. I hid myself, so you could shine. Your light is my revenge against the darkness. Day 5, 6, 7. With each burned piece of paper, the fear lessened. On the 8th day, David stepped onto a stage. He played like never before. He was discovered by a producer. He recorded 12 albums. He died at 92, famous, wealthy, fulfilled. The curse of invisibility, broken. It liberated not only him, but inspired the entire Polish community in New York. Remember when I said poverty isn't yours? Now you're starting to understand the depth of that. Every financial fear, every act of self-sabotage, every limitation wasn't born with you. It was inherited. It's in your blood, waiting to be freed. The fifth cut, the curse of betrayal. If I get rich, I'll betray my origins. Money changes people for the worse. I'd rather be poor and honest than rich and corrupt. This programming comes from ancestors who saw family or friends change with money, or who were betrayed by wealthy individuals. The fifth cut requires running water. It could be a river, the ocean, or even a tap. Let the water flow over your hands as you repeat. Wealth amplifies who I already am. If I am good, I will be better. If I am generous, I will be more generous. Money doesn't corrupt me, it reveals me. 21 times, one for each day of the protocol. Florence discovered something fascinating about the fifth cut. The families who resist the most are those who had a wealthy member who caused suffering, a loan shark grandfather, a corrupt uncle, an aunt who abandoned the family after getting rich. The DNA registers money equals evil and blocks prosperity as a moral protection. Sarah Williams, 1927, an American family, lower middle class for 4 generations. Never poor, never rich. Florence investigated and discovered. Sarah's great-great-grandfather owned slaves, rich, cruel. He died alone and hated. The family unconsciously chose financial mediocrity as a moral penance. Sarah performed the fifth cut for 21 days, every day at the same time, 6 a.m. by the creek behind her house. On the 7th day, she had a vision. She saw her great-great-grandfather. He was crying. He said, "I misused wealth, but that doesn't mean wealth is bad. Use it well. Redeem our name." Sarah cried for hours. She felt the weight of 4 generations lifting from her shoulders. In 3 months, Sarah invented a simple household product. She patented it, sold the patent for $100,000. She used the money to create a school for black children. The school exists to this day. It trains doctors, lawyers, teachers. Sarah redeemed the family karma. She transformed the curse into a blessing. The sixth cut, the curse of powerlessness. People like us don't get rich. That's not for us. Know your place. This is the programming of caste, of class, of race. Ancestors who were slaves, servants, outcasts. They engraved into their DNA. Our place is at the bottom. The sixth cut is the most violent because it attacks the social structure. Florence was threatened many times for teaching this cut. They said she was disrupting the natural order. She responded, "There is no natural order in poverty. It's a construct, and every construct can be demolished." The ritual of the sixth cut requires earth. You bury an object that represents your family. It could be a photo, a document, anything. Bury it saying, "I bury the limitation, not the love. I bury the belief, not the connection. My ancestors survived so I could prosper." Leave it buried for 7 days. On the 7th day, unearth it. The object represents your reborn lineage, free from limitations. The Okonkwo family, 1928, Nigerians in New York. 10 generations of poor farmers in Africa. In New York, they remained poor, now as factory workers. The eldest son, Joseph, wanted to be a doctor. The family laughed. "A doctor, US? Know your place, boy?" Joseph sought out Florence. She immediately saw it, a deep, Caste curse. 300 years of know your place. Joseph performed the sixth cut. He buried a family photo. During the 7 days, he had a fever, nightmares, even hallucinations. He saw ancestors in chains. On the 7th day, upon unearthing the photo, the chains broke in his vision. Joseph entered medical school. The entire family opposed him. He persisted. He graduated. He became the first Okonkwo doctor in 500 years of traceable family history. Today, the Okonkwo family has 12 doctors, 8 lawyers, 15 entrepreneurs. Joseph broke the caste curse. He liberated 10 future generations. The 7th cut, the curse of time. It's too late. If I was going to be rich, I would be by now. My time has passed. This is the most subtle and most devastating curse because it uses time as an excuse. Ancestors who died waiting, who left dreams for later, they engraved into their DNA. There's never the right time. The 7th cut is performed with a clock. You stop a clock exactly at midnight, leave it stopped for 24 hours. During those 24 hours, you act as if time doesn't exist, as if you had all the time in the world, as if you were young. Regardless of your age, it's a temporal reset in consciousness. Florence discovered the 7th cut by accident. Her clock broke during the 21-day protocol. Instead of fixing it, she left it stopped. She realized that her anxiety about getting old disappeared. At 45, she started acting as if she were 25. Energy returned, creativity exploded, opportunities appeared. Robert Harrison, 1929, 62 years old, retired, depressed. A family of men who died at 65 without accomplishing anything. Robert awaited death. Florence challenged him. "What if you had another 30 years?" Robert laughed bitterly. Florence insisted on the 7th cut. Robert stopped his grandfather's clock, a family heirloom, 24 hours without time. Something shifted in his mind. The next day, he enrolled in a painting class. He discovered a late talent. He sold his first painting in 6 months. At 70, he had his first exhibition. At 75, museums were buying his works. He died at 89, rich, famous, fulfilled. The New York Times wrote, "The man who discovered it's never too late." Now comes the crucial part. The 7 cuts must be performed in order over 21 days. 3 days for each cut. You cannot skip, you cannot accelerate. Ancestral resistance is real. You will feel it in your body. Fever, nausea. Insomnia are common. It's the curse fighting to survive. But here's what Florence discovered that no one else knows. During the 21 days, you are not alone. Your ancestors who want evolution will help you. You will dream of them. You will feel presences. You will hear whispers. Do not be afraid. They are your ancestral allies, those who suffered so that you could be free. Florence's complete protocol includes a journal. Every day you write. What curse am I breaking today? What resistance am I feeling? What sign did I receive? Florence analyzed 500 journals. A consistent pattern. On day 7, crisis. On day 14, breakthrough. On the 21st, liberation. The Goldman family, 1930. 12 people, 3 generations, undertook the protocol together. Grandparents, parents, children. It was chaos, arguments, tears, even a temporary separation. But they persevered. On the 21st day, something extraordinary happened. Everyone felt it simultaneously, as if invisible chains were shattering, a sound like metal breaking, a sound they all heard. Within a year, the Goldman family went from near bankruptcy to prosperity. It wasn't luck. It was the liberation from 7 generations of curses. The family business, struggling for 30 years, exploded. Children who couldn't find jobs were promoted. Grandchildren who failed exams got into universities. Coincidence? Florence documented everything, a consistent pattern across all the families. If Florence has touched something deep within you right now, if you felt your ancestral blood stir, YouTube offers super thanks. Use it not as payment, but as the first act of breaking the curse of scarcity. When you invest in knowledge that liberates, you declare to the universe, I deserve abundance. It's the first step. Do it now, while ancestral resistance is low, but there's a warning Florence always gave. When you break the curses, you don't just liberate yourself, you liberate your entire lineage, past and future. Your deceased ancestors feel relief. Your unborn descendants give thanks. It's a heavy responsibility. Not everyone is ready to carry the liberation of a lineage. Marcus Thompson attempted the protocol in 1929. He stopped on the 5th day. The ancestral pressure was too much. He felt the weight of 10 generations on his back. He gave up. He lived another 40 years in the same poverty. On his deathbed, he told his son, I wasn't strong enough, but you can be. His son completed the protocol. Today, the Thompson family is prosperous. Marcus planted the seed. His son reaped the harvest. Some will say this is superstition, that there's no such thing as an ancestral curse. Florence expected that. She would say, the curse's greatest victory is convincing you it doesn't exist, because as long as you don't believe, you don't fight. And as long as you don't fight, you remain trapped. The truth is, science is beginning to confirm what Florence knew. Epigenetics shows that trauma is passed down through DNA. Patterns of scarcity are biologically inherited. It's not mystical, it's scientific. The ancestral curse has a genetic basis. And what can be programmed can be reprogrammed. Dr. James Mitchell, a psychiatrist in 1935, a complete skeptic, challenged Florence to prove it. She said, do the protocol. If it doesn't work, I'll stop teaching. Dr. Mitchell accepted. He discovered during the protocol that he had 6 generations of poor doctors, all brilliant, all miserable. The family belief, medicine is a vocation, not a business. He performed the 7 cuts with scientific skepticism. He documented everything. On the 21st day, something shifted. It wasn't mystical, it was practical. For the first time, he was able to charge a fair price. For the first time, he didn't feel guilt about earning well. Within 2 years, he had the most successful clinic in Manhattan. He published an article, The Psychological Basis of Hereditary Financial Limitations. He never mentioned Florence, but she knew, and she smiled. The crucial moment is now. You have 3 choices. First, ignore everything and continue living the poverty of your ancestors. Second, try partially and fail like Marcus Thompson. Third, commit to the 21 days and liberate your lineage. Florence left a simple test. Close your eyes. Think of money. A lot of money, millions. What do you feel? Fear, guilt, shame? That's not you. It's your ancestors. It's the curse speaking. The more uncomfortable you feel, the deeper the curse. And the more urgent the need to break it. The complete protocol is available. The 7 cuts detailed, the 21 days mapped out. But warning, once you start, you can't stop. A half-broken curse is worse than an intact curse because it becomes furious. If you're not ready for the full 21 days, wait. But don't wait too long. Every day that passes, you transmit the curse forward. Your children are absorbing your poverty now. Your grandchildren will inherit your limitations. Your great-grandchildren will curse your cowardice. Or you can be the hero of the family, the one who broke the chain, the one who liberated the lineage, the one who will be remembered for 7 generations as the liberator. Now I will reveal what Florence called the genealogical mirror. It's a technique she developed in 1931 to identify exactly which ancestor created each curse. It works like this. You take an old family photo, the oldest one you have. You place it in front of a mirror. You look through the photo at your reflection. What you see is not you. It's the ancestor who most influences your relationship with money. Martha Rodriguez, 1932, a Mexican family, 8 generations of documented poverty. Martha did the genealogical mirror. She saw an indigenous woman in the reflection. She didn't know her, but she felt her. It was her ancestor from 7 generations ago, a healer who was accused of witchcraft and had all her possessions confiscated by the church. She imprinted on her DNA, spiritual power and material wealth cannot coexist. Martha understood why every time her healing gift manifested, she lost money. Every time she earned well, she fell ill. It was the ancestral programming. Choose between spirit or matter. Martha performed the 7 cuts, focusing on this specific ancestor. On the 21st day, she dreamed of the healer. She said, "I lost everything so that you could have everything. Use your gift and the wealth. Avenge our lineage with prosperity." In 6 months, Martha opened a holistic healing center. She charged fair prices without guilt. In 2 years, she had 3 centers. Today, the Rodriguez Clinic Network has 50 units in 5 countries. Martha proved that spirituality and prosperity can coexist. She broke 300 years of programming. The genealogical mirror also reveals hidden curses, those you didn't even know you had. Florence discovered this when a woman named Eleanor White sought her out. Eleanor wasn't poor, but she couldn't surpass a certain level. She earned well, but never very well. She lived comfortably, but never abundantly. She did the genealogical mirror. She saw a man in a top hat. She later discovered it was her great-great-grandfather, a banker in London. He had become rich by defrauding widows. On his deathbed, he cursed his own lineage. "May my descendants have enough to live, but never enough to sin as I sinned." Eleanor was shocked. The curse was a distorted protection. She performed the 7 cuts with a special focus on the great-great-grandfather's curse. It was the most difficult process Florence documented. Eleanor literally vomited during the cuts. Her body rejected the breaking of the protection, but she persevered. On the 21st day, the curse broke with such force that Eleanor fainted. She woke up different. The limitation had vanished. Within a year, Eleanor went from manager to CEO. In 3 years, she was a multi-millionaire. But most importantly, she used her wealth to create a foundation that helps widows. She redeemed her great-great-grandfather's karma. She transformed the fraudulent curse into a philanthropic blessing. Her descendants were born free. Florence uncovered specific patterns of curses by ethnic origin. It's not racism, it's historical observation. Irish families often carry the famine curse, a fear of food scarcity that morphs into financial scarcity. Jewish families carry the persecution curse, the fear of prospering too much and attracting fatal envy. African families carry the slavery curse, the programming that work must be. Suffering. Italian families carry the shame curse. What will people say? Asian families carry the sacrifice curse. Individual success is a betrayal of the collective. Latino families carry the resignation curse. God willed it so. German families carry the rigidity curse. Prosperity without extreme discipline is immoral. Each ethnic curse has its specific antidote within the 7 cuts. Florence created variations for each origin, but the principle is the same. Identify, honor, cut, liberate, In 21 days, generations of programming can be undone. The most extreme case Florence documented was the Miller family. 12 generations of documented servitude. The curse was so deep that the family had genetic diseases related to poverty. Literally, misery was in their blood. Florence worked with 5 generations simultaneously. From a great-grandmother of 89 years old to a great-grandson of 5, the family protocol was chaotic. The great-grandmother nearly died on the 3rd day. The father had seizures on the 7th. The mother developed hives that covered her entire body. The children had terrible nightmares. Florence almost stopped, but the great-grandmother insisted, "I'd rather die free than live another day enslaved." They continued. On the 14th day, the breakthrough, the great-grandmother awoke speaking ancient Russian words she didn't know. They were blessings of prosperity from her free ancestors before servitude. On the 21st day, the entire family felt it, as if centuries-old iron chains were shattering, a sound of grating metal that their neighbors heard. In 5 years, the Miller family went from laborers to entrepreneurs. The eldest son created a tech company sold for $50 million. The middle daughter became a renowned doctor. The youngest, an internationally award-winning artist. The great-grandmother lived to see the financial freedom that 12 generations hadn't known. She died at 96, smiling. But Florence also documented failures, families who couldn't handle the protocol, people who gave up on day 20, one day from freedom. The most tragic case was William Foster. He did 20 perfect days. On the 21st, the ancestral pressure was so intense that he had a panic attack. He stopped. He never completed it. William lived another 30 years with the curse 95% broken. It was worse than having it whole, because he knew what he was missing. He saw the opportunities, but couldn't grasp them. He felt prosperity near, but couldn't touch it. He died with the greatest regret. One day, I was one day short. And that's why Florence created the emergency protocol. If you can't complete it, there's an honorable way out. On the day you decide to stop, perform the suspension ritual. Light 7 black candles. Say, "I honor my current limitation. I suspend the protocol with respect. When I'm ready, I will return." This freezes progress without reversing it. James Patterson used the emergency protocol in 1934. He stopped on day 15. Too heavy. He suspended. It took him 3 years to muster the courage to return. He resumed from day 15. He completed it. The curse broke normally. Sometimes we need breaks. Florence understood. The important thing is not to give up. It's to suspend. There's another aspect I need to reveal. During the 21 days, you attract tests. The universe tests your determination. Unexpected debt will appear. They'll offer a bad job with a tempting salary. Family fights will arise. These are the guardians of the curse trying to make you give up. Florence called them the 21 demons. One for each day. The stronger the curse, the more violent the tests. Florence saw it all. A house catching fire on day 10, a car accident on day 15, even the death of a pet on day 20. It's not coincidence. It's dimensional resistance. The curse fights for survival, but if you persist on day 21, it surrenders. And when an ancestral curse surrenders, it transforms into a blessing. Yes, you read that right. The curse turns into a blessing. The same energy that limited you begins to propel you. The curse of survival becomes the instinct of prosperity. The curse of guilt becomes productive compassion. The curse of sacrifice becomes abundant service. It's ancestral alchemy, transforming genealogical lead into generational gold. Florence died rich, not just with money, rich with stories of liberated families, 500 bloodlines broken, thousands of prosperous people. She said, "My work is done. Now it's up to you." And it is. It's up to you. The question isn't if you can, it's if you will. Which ancestor did you feel while reading this? In which cut did your body react? Which curse did you recognize as yours? Write in the comments. But be specific. Say which generation. Others need to know they are not alone carrying ancient curses. The poverty you experience isn't yours. It never was. It's time to return it. It's time to cut it. It's time to be free. The 7 cuts are waiting. The 21 days are available. Your ancestors are watching. And Florence is smiling because she knows you've already decided. The moment you got this far, you've already decided. The curse is already trembling. Liberation has already begun. Now you just have to complete it. Be the liberator of your lineage. Start today, finish in 21 days, and change 7 generations forward and backward. The choice was always yours. The curse wants you to forget that, but now you remember, and when we remember who we are, the chains can no longer hold us. Florence Scovel, Shin, discovered the method. I revealed the method. Now you know the method. What comes next is up to you.